Welcome to our channel. Here we share stories that can inspire and change lives. Today, you will hear a story that is not only about success, but also about pain, hard work, and the power of never giving up. This is the story of a poor boy who had nothing. He had no money, no warm home, and not even enough food to eat. He lost everything when he was very young, with no one to help him. Hungry, lonely, and suffering each day, he still refused to accept this life. He kept moving forward. At just 13, this boy began walking toward Paris. The city was 470 kilometers away, and the journey would take 2 years. He had no food, no house, and no money. He fought hunger, storms, and weakness, yet he continued walking. That same boy later became the founder of the world's most famous luxury brand, Louis Vuitton. How did a poor boy build such a huge empire? How did he turn his pain into power? Today, you will hear the true story. Every step, every problem, and every success is real. Stay with us until the end, because this story will not only inspire you, but also help you improve your English. The storytelling is simple, the words are clear, and you will learn naturally. Let's begin. In 1821, in a small French village named Anche, a baby boy was born into a poor family. His name was Louis Vuitton. From the start, life was hard. His father, Xavier Vuitton, was a carpenter who built furniture and wooden items. His mother, Corinne Gaillard, was a hat maker who sewed hats for women in the village. Both parents worked hard, but they earned little money. Louis grew up in a small wooden house with a broken roof. Winters were long and cruel. The floors were cold and wet, and snow covered the village for months. There was no heating, no soft bed, and no warm blanket. The family struggled to survive. Unlike rich children, Louis had no toys and no school. Instead, he worked with his father, carrying heavy wood, hammering nails, and cleaning sawdust. His clothes were old, his hands rough, and his stomach often empty. But Louis was different. He had a dream. Every day, travelers passed through his small village. They wore beautiful clothes and carried big wooden trunks. Louis watched with wide eyes. Where were they going? Who made those strong trunks? He wanted to see the world. He wanted a better life. But when he was only 10, tragedy struck. His mother became very sick, and there was no doctor in the village. Slowly, her health worsened until one morning she took her last breath. Louis was heartbroken. His father, full of sadness, became cold and distant. Soon Louis was completely alone. Instead of breaking, he made a choice. He would not stay poor forever. He would leave the village and chase his dream. At just 13, with no money, no horse, and no food, Louis set out on the impossible journey to Paris. One evening, before sunrise, he quietly packed a small bag and left. He walked for days, then weeks, facing hunger, cold winds, and storms. Sometimes kind strangers gave him food. Other times he slept hungry under trees. He worked on farms in exchange for a little bread. Rain soaked him, and his feet bled. But he never gave up. After 2 long years, Louis finally reached Paris. But Paris was not the magical place he imagined. The city was huge, noisy, and full of smells both good and bad. There was bread, coffee, and perfume everywhere, but also dirt, beggars, and thieves. Louis, with torn clothes and an empty stomach, stood at the edge of the city, afraid and lost. That first night, he slept in an empty wooden cart near a bakery, hugging his small bag as rats ran nearby. In the morning, Hunger pushed him to search for work. He asked shop after shop, but people only said no. No experience, no family here, no chance. Days passed and he ate scraps from the market, sometimes food from the ground. He grew weaker, yet still he did not give up. One evening, he saw a man struggling with a heavy trunk. Louis quickly helped him carry it into a shop. Inside, Louis saw something amazing. Trunks of all shapes and sizes, some covered in leather and some with golden locks. It was a workshop. The owner, Monsieur Maréchal, watched Louis carefully and said, "You are strong for your size. What's your name?" Louis replied, "Louis Vuitton, sir." When asked what he wanted, Louis bravely said, "I want to work. Can you make trunks?" Maréchal asked. Louis answered, "No, sir, but I can learn." The man laughed. "Everyone says that. Few work hard." Louis's eyes burned with determination. "Please, give me a chance. I will work harder than anyone." After a moment, Maréchal nodded. "Start tomorrow. No money yet. You work, you learn. If you are good, payment will come." Louis bowed gratefully. His true journey had begun. He swept floors, carried tools, and cleaned. But he wanted more. At night, when everyone left, he practiced with wood and leather. One morning, Maréchal saw a piece of work that Louis had made secretly. The edges were neat, and the stitches were perfect. Surprised, he asked, "Did you make this?" Nervously, Louis nodded. Maréchal smiled and said, "From now, stay after work. I will teach you." Louis worked harder than ever. He learned to shape wood, cut leather, and sew strong stitches. He watched the masters closely and slowly became one of them. By the age of 20, Louis was no longer a poor village boy. He was a skilled craftsman, and customers began asking for him by name. "I want my trunk made by Vuitton." His name was spreading in Paris. One day, an extraordinary woman visited the workshop, Empress Eugénie, wife of Napoleon III. She was elegant, wearing silk and diamonds, but unimpressed with the trunks she saw, until her eyes stopped on Louis. "Are you Vuitton, the young craftsman?" she asked. Louis softly replied, "Yes, Your Majesty." She looked at him carefully before saying, "I need a trunk, but not like others. Mine are too heavy, too difficult. I want something new, light, beautiful, and strong. Can you do it?" Louis's heart raced. This was his moment. If he succeeded, his name would shine across France. If he failed, he would lose everything. Louis noticed that old travel trunks had many problems. At that time, trunks were very big, heavy, and had round tops. Because of their shape, people could not stack them easily. They were also covered in thick leather, which made them even heavier and hard to carry. Most importantly, they were not made for modern travel. But Louis had a new idea, something no one had ever tried before. He stepped forward, his hands shaking a little. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "what if I make a trunk that is light, beautiful, and easy to stack? A trunk with a flat top, covered with canvas, not leather. The canvas will be waterproof, strong, and much easier to carry. It will be perfect for traveling." The room became quiet. Maréchal stared at Louis as if he was crazy. No one had ever dared to change the old trunk design, but Empress Eugénie raised her head with interest. "A flat-topped trunk? Canvas instead of leather?" she asked slowly. "That sounds new. Can you really do it?" Louis's heart beat faster. "Yes, Your Majesty. I will make a trunk like no other." The Empress smiled a little. "Then do it, Vuitton. Show me what you can do." For many weeks, Louis worked day and night. He knew this was his chance to prove himself, not only to the Empress, but also to the whole world. He started by designing the frame. Instead of using the heavy, thick wood that was common, he used poplar wood. Poplar was light, but also strong. Then he changed the round top into a flat top. This simple idea allowed many trunks to be stacked together, which made travel much easier. The biggest change, however, was the material. Louis replaced the old leather with a new kind of fabric. It was called Trianon canvas, a gray cloth that was light, waterproof, and resistant to stains. No one had ever seen such a material on a trunk before. The days became weeks. Louis hardly slept. His hands were cut and sore from work, and glue stuck to his skin. Many times, he skipped meals because he was too busy building. But finally, the trunk was ready. It looked beautiful. The gray canvas shined under the light. The brass locks sparkled. The trunk was smooth, elegant, and strong. It was more than just a travel box. It was a true masterpiece. At last, the day of presentation arrived. Louis stood in the grand hall of the Empress's palace. His heart raced. Around him, nobles and important men whispered and looked at him with little respect. To them, he was only a poor craftsman in plain clothes. The Empress entered, her gown flowing like water. She looked at the trunk. For a moment, she said nothing. Then, she touched the smooth canvas with her hand. She checked the stitching, the locks, the finishing details. The room was silent as everyone waited. Finally, she spoke. "Vuitton," she said. "This is truly wonderful." The crowd murmured in surprise. Marechal, who had doubted Louis, could not believe his eyes. Then the Empress continued, "From now on, you will be my personal trunk maker." Everything changed in that moment. Louis had won the trust of the most powerful woman in France. Her approval was more than honor. It was a door to success. Soon, the rich people of Paris wanted Vuitton trunks. Nobles, politicians, and wealthy travelers all placed orders. But there was still a problem. Louis was only a worker in Marechal's shop. No matter how skilled he would always be under someone else's command. He needed freedom. After many years of loyalty, Louis made the bravest choice of his life. He left the workshop and started his own business. With only a small amount of savings, equal to about $1,000 today, he rented a little space in Paris. The shop was simple. It had just a few tools and one workbench, but it was his. He placed a wooden sign outside. Louis Vuitton Maletier, trunk maker. Now it was official. He was not just a poor village boy anymore. He was a business owner. Starting was not easy. The first months were very hard. Louis had no helpers, no factory, no safety. Every trunk was made by his own hands. He worked from sunrise to midnight, often without eating much. Then disaster came. A terrible war broke out in France, the Franco-Prussian War. Paris became a battlefield. The rich escaped the city. Factories closed. Shops went empty. Luxury goods were no longer needed. Louis' store, which had just begun to grow, suddenly had no customers. The orders stopped. The money stopped. His dream was about to collapse. For many months, Louis tried to keep his business alive. He sold some tools, used fewer materials, and worked harder than ever. But it was not enough. Soon he was almost bankrupt. Then, when things seemed hopeless, the war finally ended. Peace returned. People wanted to travel again. They wanted beauty, comfort, and modern style. And they wanted Vuitton trunks. Orders rushed in. The small shop that had once been empty became famous. Everyone in Paris talked about Vuitton. But Louis did not stop there. In 1871, he opened a new workshop in Osnières, near Paris. It was 4 times larger than his old shop. He hired workers, trained apprentices, and created new designs. His dream was growing into something bigger than a shop. It was becoming an empire. The world was also changing. Luxury was no longer only for kings and queens. The new rich class wanted it too. During the 1880s, Louis's personal life also grew. He married Clémence Émilie Perriot, a woman who supported his dreams. She was not just his wife, but also his partner. Together they had a son, Georges Vuitton, who would one day continue his father's work. But success came with sacrifice. Louis wanted perfection. He worked late nights in his workshop, often missing family moments, birthdays, and quiet evenings. He gave everything to his dream. From the start, Louis understood something many businessmen did not. To build a lasting brand, you must sell to the rich. Why? Because the wealthy set the trends. They influenced fashion and the desires of society. If nobles and important travelers used Vuitton trunks, others would want them too. There was another reason. Rich clients did not fight over price. They cared about being special. They wanted exclusivity. Louis never tried to sell cheap goods to everyone. He focused only on a small number of elite customers who paid high prices for unique, handcrafted trunks. This strategy worked perfectly. Soon, not just nobles, but also bankers, businessmen, and world explorers were ordering Vuitton trunks. Owning one was no longer only about travel. It became a symbol of status. Louis had built a great empire, but his journey ended in 1892 when he died, leaving the business to his son, Georges Vuitton. Before passing, Louis called Georges and gave him his final advice: never sell cheap. Never sell to the masses. Our name must always mean quality. If the world changes, we must change too, but never forget what makes us special. Georges was young, full of energy, and ready to grow his father's dream. He wanted Louis Vuitton to be bigger than just travel trunks. He added handbags, small toiletry bags, and even fancy minibars. These new items changed the luxury fashion world. As the company grew, problems came. Many cheap copies of Vuitton products started to appear. Fake trunks were everywhere, and customers were being tricked. Georges knew he must protect his brand. In 1896, he created the LV monogram. This logo made Louis Vuitton special and hard to copy. Only the rich could afford it. With Georges in charge, the company did not just survive. It became the leader of luxury. But time passes, and nothing lasts forever. Georges grew old. The company became too large for one man alone. The world around him was also changing. New cars, airplanes, and new styles in fashion were appearing. For many years, Georges worked without rest. He made Louis Vuitton strong in many countries. He introduced leather handbags and accessories. These products became signs of wealth. He opened stores in other nations, spreading the brand worldwide. He worked hard to protect exclusivity so that Louis Vuitton always felt rare and special. But in the 1930s, Georges faced his hardest challenge. His health was getting worse. Years of stress, travel, and death, and work had made him weak. In 1936, Georges Vuitton passed away. His time had ended. The big question was, who would lead now? Georges' son, Gaston Louis Vuitton, stepped forward. Gaston had grown up inside the world of Louis Vuitton. Since he was a child, he had seen design, luxury, and fine work. He had watched his father build the company. Now it was his turn to guide the future. But the world he faced was different. The Great Depression, 1929 to 1939, destroyed many businesses. Cars and planes changed how people traveled. Big trunks were not as useful anymore. Fashion itself was changing. People wanted more than just luggage. The future of Louis Vuitton was uncertain. Gaston understood one thing: if the company did not change, it would die. So he made strong decisions. He added small leather goods, purses, and accessories. He created handbags that women could use every day, not just for travel. He tried new designs to make Louis Vuitton modern and stylish. But before he could move further, war arrived. World War II, 1939 to 1945, brought chaos. France was taken over by Nazi Germany. Many businesses closed. Luxury shops suffered. Gaston had to decide: close the company or find a way to continue. To survive, Louis Vuitton worked with the French government under German control. This was controversial. For many years, people did not talk about it. Only later did reports reveal these ties. Still, Louis Vuitton survived. When the war ended, Gaston tried to repair the brand's image. But this was not simple. After the war, Europe was poor. People did not care about luxury goods. But Gaston believed something: the rich always stay rich. Even during bad times, the wealthy still want luxury. So Louis Vuitton focused on making very exclusive items, only for the richest. This plan worked. By the 1950s, Louis Vuitton returned to the top. During this time, the company created some of its most famous handbags: the Speedy bag, made for busy, stylish women; the Keep-All bag, a modern replacement for heavy luggage; the Noé bag, first made to carry champagne bottles. Louis Vuitton was no longer just about travel. It had become a true fashion symbol. But Gaston Louis was also getting older. The brand needed someone new for the next stage. By the 1960s, Louis Vuitton was one of the most respected luxury names in the world. But the world was moving quickly. Fashion changed fast. The wealthy class was growing. Competitors were stronger. Gaston knew the company needed fresh leadership. He invited his son-in-law, Henri Racamier, to help. Henri was smart and had a clear vision. He wanted to make Louis Vuitton not just famous, but the #1 luxury brand in history. This decision changed everything. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, Louis Vuitton was well known. But it was still run like a family shop. The world of business had changed. If Louis Vuitton wanted to lead, it needed new ideas. This was when Henri Racamier took charge. Henri was not a designer. He was not a traditional businessman either. He was a dreamer with bold plans. When he looked at Louis Vuitton, he saw more than a company. He saw a gold mine that could turn into a billion-dollar empire. At that time, Louis Vuitton was selling mostly in Europe. It was respected, but not global. Henri wanted more. He made daring choices. He expanded to new markets like the US, Japan, and the Middle East. These regions had very rich buyers hungry for luxury. He raised prices. Henri believed that when something is very expensive, people desire it more. A Louis Vuitton handbag was not just a bag, it was proof of status. He changed the shopping experience. Stores became luxury palaces. Clients got VIP rooms, champagne service, and private treatment. But Louis Vuitton was not trying to reach everyone. The brand focused on the top 1%, the richest, the famous, the royal families. To stay rare, they launched limited editions, exotic leather items, and private orders. Some of the most exclusive products included crocodile skin bags, costing $50,000 to $100,000. Python and ostrich skin bags, made as collector's items. Luxury minibars and toiletry bags for private jets and yachts, costing hundreds of thousands. Custom travel trunks, some reaching $500,000. But with fame came danger. As Louis Vuitton grew more exclusive, fake products exploded. By the 1980s, counterfeit bags were sold everywhere: Paris, New York, Tokyo. If everyone carried a fake LV bag, the real ones would lose meaning. Henry acted fast. He started one of the biggest anti-fake campaigns in history. The company sent teams to close illegal factories. They worked with governments to pass strong laws. They even added special features to products to make them hard to copy. Still, Henry knew that to stay powerful, Louis Vuitton had to grow beyond luggage. So he made a bold move. In 1987, Henry merged Louis Vuitton with Moet & Chandon, Champagne, and Hennessy Cognac. Together, they formed LVMH, Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. This was genius. Now, Louis Vuitton was not just one brand. It was part of a huge luxury group. With LVMH, dozens of luxury names were under one roof. The group expanded into fashion, jewelry, perfumes, and alcohol. It became the richest luxury company in the world. But Henry did not enjoy his success for long. A new player appeared, Bernard Arnault. Arnault was young, smart, and very ambitious. He saw LVMH as his chance. In 1989, he used strong business tactics to remove Henry and take control. It was shocking, but it made Arnault the most powerful man in luxury. Once in power, Arnault turned LVMH into a giant. He expanded into China, Russia, India, and more. Bought famous brands like Dior, Givenchy, and Fendi. Created ultra-luxury items worth millions. Today, LVMH is worth more than $500 billion. Arnault is often the richest man in the world, with over $200 billion. Louis Vuitton today means exclusivity. Owning LV means you have reached the top. Luxury craftsmanship. Every item is made by skilled hands. Status. Whether a handbag, luggage, or custom item, it shows wealth. After more than 170 years, Louis Vuitton is still the #1 luxury brand. And it all began with Louis Vuitton. A poor boy with a dream. His story is proof of determination and vision. From a small village boy to a global empire, his journey shows that hard work and new ideas can change everything. Every step, from handmade trunks to billion-dollar handbags, was built on quality and exclusivity. Even with wars, crises, and power struggles, Louis Vuitton stayed strong. This is more than just fashion. It is a legacy that will last forever.